As a dude who comes from a family filled with individuals who struggled with their weight throughout their lives or at certain junctures in their lives, I am well aware that food can indeed be addictive, right? People can become hooked to food, using it as a means to cope through life. And when that is out of control, then obesity becomes your biggest problem within your life, right? It's not just necessarily what you're doing to cope, but it's the side effects, the byproducts of that coping mechanism. So I am well aware that there are individuals who are struggling through addiction, and that addiction shows up through food. However, I'm also well aware that an individual who is choosing to eat too much on the basis of whatever that trauma it is that they're dealing with, or whatever life situation circumstances, they're still making a choice, right? Unless you're dealing with children who are in a household of parents who are afraid to regulate their eating, or, they don't want to change their own ways. And so it's hard to change the children's ways. You don't want to get rid of sugar in your house. So your children end up eating the very same non-food food items. Unless you're a child, you are choosing. You are responsible for what goes into your body, period. And so when I hear stories like the one we're about to get into today of our buddy over here, Gary, from my 600 plus pound life, it breaks my heart, because these are problems that we can easily avoid, right? This is not a disability in the way of somebody who was born with the inability to, let's say, walk or speak or see or hear. Somebody who was, let's say, gone through some sort of trauma, such as, I don't know, their leg was blown off in war or something of that nature. But instead, this is an individual who made a decision somewhere in life that they were going to continue to use food as a means to cope instead of actually healing, getting the necessary help to deal with the underlying problems. And I'm not looking to victim blame, but again, the only victim in the story is the very same person who is the oppressor, right? That's the thing with an addiction. And I came from an addiction in my childhood. From around 14 to 15 to 19, I was an addict. And I lost 3 of my best friends to addictions, right? I was blessed enough, fortunate enough, and I'm forever grateful that I got out of that lifestyle, and I realized that this was going to take my life. And I was able to see around me the signs before they fully manifested, that the road I was going down was going to lead to one place, but nevertheless, I was still the one who was making a decision to indulge myself in a plethora of different drugs and such. And so when we get into this dude's story right here, the reason I wanted to even get into in the first place is not because I have a channel on, fitness and health, or I think I'm some sort of expert, but instead because of the conversation of personal accountability, and how we've created for like a social norm where being obese is not only accepted, but it is seen as something to empathize towards or sympathize towards, right? These are victims. These aren't individuals who are making choices. These aren't the equivalent of somebody who is choosing to be on that pipe, right? Who are choosing to be on the pills or whatever it is. And it is creating chaos, not just in their own lives, but then in the lives of those they're connected to, right? There are people who have to now become caretakers. Some people's children become their own caretakers because their parents can't take care of themselves. You have brothers and sisters, etc. And, obviously, it is a decision of a person if they're going to step into that type of situation or not, but who feel responsible for somebody. Maybe it's a parent, an adult parent at a certain point, and you may feel guilty, so you want to take care of that person. There are real ramifications that take place when you are somebody who was given over to any addiction, and it's no different for food. And the reason why this story caught my attention is first and foremost because the story has been circulating. So a host of different people have been getting into it. But also, when I saw just how entitled this individual was, the sort of mentality they have, right? Because when we think of a victim, oftentimes you're thinking of somebody who is vulnerable. But instead, this is an individual who is actually thriving off of the power they have as far as making people sort of have to take care of them. And there are people who move through life like that. And also his mother, who is his enabler, who essentially I believe is actually a toxic individual, because any parent who views it as their place to make their child dependent on them for life is selfish, right? The need to be needed, and you fulfill that need to be needed by keeping your children in a state of adolescence or delayed adolescence. You keep them in this sort of Peter Pan syndrome in order for you to be gratified, in order for you to feel you have a purpose. And so I want to get into this clip right here. I believe this should be fair use, so hopefully this video stays up and it stays monetized as such. But otherwise, let's get into it.
Bad bathing is difficult, especially when you got a lazy caregiver.
So that's the part that got me off the bat. He is calling his caregiver lazy, not himself, who has gotten to those proportions right there. Brother, you are likely 6, 7, maybe 800 pounds. And you are calling the woman who is washing you lazy. Interesting.
After my caregiver leaves, my mom comes over to cook breakfast for me. That's when everything turns around.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Mommy.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so you ready for your breakfast?
Yeah.
So here comes the dope dealer. Here comes the dope dealer. Mama is the plug. She is the one supplying this young man, this grown man, because I'll be putting the young man title, man, adult male. She is the one who gets some sort of fix off of needing to be needed. I know it's an assumption. Trust me, I know I'm not in these people's lives. But why else would a mother be okay seeing their child in this position if they weren't actually feeding off of it? No pun intended.
All right, all right. What you want? What you want to eat?
Everything.
What's everything?
I don't know.
Eggs, bacon, grits, all that?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. He will eat whatever you put in front of him. You know, he's constantly eating.
She's saying this as if she's not the one who's putting it in front of him. And mind you, the biggest problem is not the eggs, it's not the bacon, right? Contrary to that scam we call the food pyramid, it's the carbs, it's the sugar. That's what's leading to this. And they don't find their way in front of him by happenstance. I haven't seen the man get out of bed yet, right? He looks like he is close to immobile, if not fully immobile at this point. Again, self-inflicted. I'm always going to point to that because that's how that happened. Let's not get that twisted, right? But nevertheless, you have mama over here. Oh, Lord. Oh, he wants to eat everything. Okay, let me just make him everything. Enabling the highest order. This is no different than mama giving you some money and she knows you're a dope fiend. This is no different. If you're a child, like a youngster who is being raised by a parent or parents, and your parents are enabling your behavior in such a way, that is considered as child abuse. When you are an adult, it is simply enabling. But again, don't ever get that twisted. You are feeding your child the very same foods that are leading them to have a compromised life in this sort of way. You are responsible for the abuse of that child. Oh, you think you're treating them? You think you're making things easier on yourself? Well, you know, they throw a tantrum if I don't give them this and that. That's a parent's job to essentially teach a child how to regulate their own emotions. And God forbid, if you can't regulate your own, then of course you're going to look for coping mechanisms for the child, just like you probably do for yourself. I'm not here to have the comfortable talk. I'm not here to have the it's okay. No, this is not okay. This is a problem. And this needs to be corrected before it ends her son's life. And she's going to end up having to go to her son's funeral as opposed to the other way around. That's what's happening in front of us here. You know, we can laugh at it. We can, poke fun, whatever it is. But when it's all said and done, this is the equivalent of a mother giving her dope addicted child dope. He wakes up in the morning. Let's say, he sees a therapist or whatever right after therapist leaves. Here you go, son. Here's some more dope. At the very least, and he might want to cut his mama off because she's no longer supplying him. At the very least, she could say, no, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to be involved in this. I'm not going to be a part of you destroying yourself. You know, I love you and I want to be here for you and I want to help you do what's best for you, but I'm not going to enable this behavior. And sometimes that would lead to, you know, you getting cut off by family. And that's perfectly fine. I'm okay losing somebody so long as I know that I am doing what is best for them, right? So if I'm pissing you off because I will not enable you in your dysfunctional behavior, I'm okay with you being mad at me. I'm okay with you cutting me off. I would rather have you like yourself than to like me, genuinely. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to validate me. I don't need you to accept me. I don't need you to do any of those things. But I would rather know that I did not become a part of your problem. I did not add to your suffering, but instead, I offered a pathway for the solution. I'm not going to be the solution. I can't save you, but I at least did my best to be a part of the solution as opposed to what we're seeing right here.
After my caregiver leaves, my mom comes over to cook breakfast for me. That's when everything turns around.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Mommy.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so you ready for your breakfast?
Yeah.
All right, all right. What you want? What you want to eat?
Everything.
What's everything?
I don't know.
Eggs, bacon, grits, all that?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. He will eat whatever you put in front of him. You know, he's constantly eating, and he's just getting bigger and bigger. I'm just hoping that he can lose the weight so he can get up and walk, because I know he can't live that way. Okay, Gary, how many eggs you want?
4 eggs.
Okay, I'm gonna get started. So,
Okay.
are you gonna sit up?
Yeah.
Okay. With his lifestyle being the way it is, it's very hard on me because I have to do everything for him. It's hard. I'm trying to hang in and do what I can, but at the end of the day, I'm wore out.
And you become resentful. That's one thing. When you're a people pleaser, the need to be needed, you become the most resentful sort of person. You always feel some type of way. She's hiding it behind, you know, her masquerade, but she is bitter likely to say, I have to take care of this grown ass man. No, you don't have to take care of him. This is not a baby, ma'am. This is a grown adult. You've likely been enabling him throughout his life. Maybe you felt guilty. I don't know what it is that led you to a place where you feel responsible and guilty, but that is what is holding you. It is latching you to this situation. And so your son is, of course, going to be doing exactly what he's going to be doing, because mama is always going to be giving him exactly what he's asking for. Mama, 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 give me more dope. Mama, 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 supply me with my high. Okay, son, let me give you more dope. What do you expect to get out of that situation, mama? I hope he gets... She said, I hope he loses weight, and watch what she's about to place in front of him. Just watch.
There's nothing I like better than getting really full with food. And I'm trying to shake it.
Okay, so they didn't show the whole video. Basically, it wasn't eggs and bacon. If that was what he was eating every morning, he would shed weight, right? He would go into a state of ketosis. No, the mama put in front of him 4 or 5 cookies, big old cookies on one plate, and some other pastry on that plate. And she also got the grits next to the eggs, etc., which is nothing but carbs. And that's his breakfast. And I guarantee you he's eating throughout the day. To even maintain that sort of weight, you have to be eating thousands of calories every single day to maintain that weight, right? These are the individuals who they get the fries, the extra large fry, the Coke, the double bunned, triple bunned burger. They're the individuals who gets the pizza, the full pizza. They're the individual who gets the pastry and the other pastry and the other pastry, right? These are the sorts of lifestyles that an individual at that extremity is going through. And I know there's people who's going to be watching this video who are going to share their own stories of, their weight loss journeys, etc., which is a beautiful thing for me to see, because these are people who are taking control of their own lives. You see, they're not going to play the victim. Enough is enough. Like, I'm not going to go through my life being the reason why my life is cut short. I'll be damned if I'm going to be the reason why things do not work out for me. I'll be damned if I'm going to be my own worst enemy. And so y'all take the steps necessary to do exactly what you got to do to get back to a place of optimal health, because you have the power to do so. You know, this narrative has become one of, well, this person is going through so much, this person is troubled, etc. And, you know, I saw a little bit of his story, and there wasn't these deep traumas that took place per se. But there are even individuals who have been through so much, things that we could not fathom, who made a decision, a choice. Do you know how powerful it is as a human to make a choice? Just to say, you know what, enough is enough. There was a moment when I was broke. I was beyond broke. You understand me? I was telling my girl yesterday, because she made these like tuna, egg, cheese melt situations for me, right? Delicious. And, you know, I said to myself, like, damn, like, when I used to eat tuna was when I was desperate. It was the only protein I could really afford at a certain point. My fridge was empty. You understand me? I remember crying over a bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle or whatever the hell type of soup it was. A little bit of rice at the bottom, and I remember crying over it, so grateful, thinking to myself, damn, at least I have some food. And this was only a few years back. And I remember making a promise to myself. I said, I will never again for the life of me. I don't give a damn what it takes for me to do, obviously, legally and morally upright. But I will never again in my entire life find myself in a situation like this. I am going to buckle down when it comes to my finances, because it was my fault. I got in that financial situation because of me. Nobody did it to me. Nobody usually does this thing. Oh my God, I end up at the end of my life and I have more life than I do money. Everybody else is to blame, right? No, everybody else is not to blame. I'm to blame. Did I do enough to understand how money works? Did I do enough to set myself up for the future that I desire? Or did I go off of hope like mama over here? I hope he loses weight. I hope my son ends up not, continuing to gain weight and then essentially cut his life short. I hope. No, hope is not a formula. Hope is a wish. It's a pipe dream. We need to go off of intention. I am going to intend something different. I'm going to do whatever is necessary to fulfill that intention, to fulfill that promise that I made myself. Most people don't know what it is to make an actual decision. You know what it is to choose, to make little whimsical choices. Oh, I choose that over that. I choose that. When you make a decision, you say, I am not going to compromise on this no matter what. I'm going to stay disciplined in this area or that area of my life. And that's how you end up 5, 10, 15 years later having, basically the same body that you had decades before. It doesn't happen by surprise. People look at my girl and they say, oh my God, how do you look? How do you stay? Some people look at me. I remember going to my boy's funeral and it's like, out of all the people I graduated with, I'm the one who looks the most healthy, the most in shape, the most this. And some folk are coming at me, looking at me like, oh my God, you haven't changed since. And I say, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course I haven't changed much because I've been making different decisions. I cut out the sugar, cut out the carbs, cut out the stressful activities. I gave myself to my purpose, things that fulfill me and give me energy, feed me energy. I cut off the toxic relationships, right? I did the inner work. Like I did things in order to get me to a guarantee of life is at the very least going to be sustained. If not, it's going to be incrementally better or exponentially better. I always go for thrive, right? Because I know at the very worst, I'm going to end up in slightly a better position tomorrow than I did today. But that's a choice. These are decisions, folks. This is not some external force that imposed itself on you. These are the choices that are made by the overall decision that was made to say enough is enough. This is how I'm going to live my life. You are not oppressed. You, my friend, are entitled.
I Used to be afraid of the dark, a place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising. They see your light shine, that's why they so frustrated. Even the sofa in Nova Scotia will win the bagels. I couldn't get them ease on the grease, why they burning up? Money growing trees, feel a breeze, still you show.